All right, all right. It's been a busy day in the circles of West Indies cricket. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Top of Off Cricket Podcast. I know everybody. Now, if you are a cricket fanatic like the three of us, you probably would have tuned into the West Indies press conference. Lots of things were said today. Lots of new developments, new captains. One for the test team hasn't been announced yet, but I can't imagine the director of cricket and Darren Sammy having spoken to, who will be the captain. But with that being said, hello and welcome back to another episode of Top of Our Cricket Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Henry, and with me, I got Sam and Walter again. And we are here to talk about the captaincy issues surrounding West Indies cricket, the changes that have been made. So that is what we're going to deal with tonight. Sam, you reached out to us tonight and you said, hey, we got to do this tonight. We got to strike while the iron is hot. So I will go with you first. What are your thoughts on the news that we received today with regards to the changes in the test captain, Kraigg Braithwaite being asked to stand down, or as they said, he stood down, and Rovmann Powell being replaced by Shai Hope as the T20 captain?
All right, guys. Yes, I just felt we had to do this tonight. I know we're all busy, but this one I didn't see coming. I know some commentators of West Indies cricket are saying that, this was expected and what have you. I will deal with red ball cricket and Kraigg Braithwaite. I don't agree with this move. And when I say I don't agree with this move, I understand that from the Pakistan tour, after that first test, that Kraigg expressed a desire to step away. Now, this is my view. I don't know what Kraigg is going through. I know it is difficult to be captain of the West Indies team, especially in recent years or decades, perhaps, one would say. But look, Kraigg has had a decent year, I would say, as captain. You go down to Australia and win a match at the Gabba of all places. Yes? Now, of course, when the Bangladeshis came out here, things didn't go as we would have wanted, right? Us losing, I would say, badly at Sabino, right? So I don't know if, for example, that particular tour, after winning the first test and then losing at Sabino, if that kind of pushed him to say, you know what, maybe it's time I give this thing up, right? And of course, we also have the situation where Darren Sammy was given the captaincy for all of the formats, right? So with that, I don't know if it's a case whereby he says, you know what, it is timely now to step aside, give Darren Sammy a clear mandate, a clean mandate, We're starting the test cycle over now, yes? But here's the thing. If Kraigg had come and said, look, I want to give up this captaincy to me, if he had come to me and said that, I would have said to him that, look, the question you have to ask yourself is, who will we replace you with? We understand the pressures you're under, but right now, you should continue, at least for the Australian tour. The Australians are coming to the West Indies in end of June into July, right? It's 30 years since the Frank Worrell Trophy left these shores. That's a big deal. You need to stand up for West Indies cricket. Here is where you have to sacrifice for West Indies cricket. I don't know Kraigg personally, but I would want to think that if that was put to him to say, look, stay with us for this tour. It's at home. The first test in Barbados, your country. I don't know, from the little I know of Kraigg, I don't see him, saying, no, I don't want it anymore, right? But what I think happened is that, again, remember all the things I mentioned? Yes, that Bangladeshi test tour, that's one. And I think a bigger issue is Darren Sammy now being the coach for all three formats of the game, right? I think that added some pressure. So in a sense, when he says he wants to give up the captaincy, it's as if he's saying, look, I want to give Sammy a free hand, right? Let him make the decision. So maybe when Darren Sammy had made that call, he should have said, well, look, no, we want you to stay on. We know that you've been under a lot of strain and stress, but you are the best person right now. At least stay with us until the end of that Australian tour. That is my opening remarks.
So you don't
So
think
I'm not happy tonight.
so you don't think that Kraigg had run his course as captain?
One can make that argument, yes. But remember now, where our cricket is, where our red ball cricket is in particular, yes? You think whoever we bring in as captain, and right now there's a big question. We don't know, there's no clear person to lead the West Indies right now in red ball cricket. No clear front runner, yes? So we have to take it within that context. Yes, Kraigg has had a rough time. It has affected his batting. We see that. We know the stats, yes? But the question is, at this time, I think Kraigg could have been convinced to say, look, stand up for West Indies cricket, take us into that Australia tour.
But what would be the difference between if he stands down now and after the Australian tour? What exactly you're thinking is the difference?
It gives us time. It gives us time, and then more than that, remember, as Walter said, I think 2 episodes back, you know, the Australians are gunning for us. They're coming down here for blood. You don't want to go into that test series, yes, and to bring somebody fresh and with all the uncertainties going in. No, he has been there. He has been down to Australia, won a match at the Gabba. People do not win at the Gabba, Kevin. One can say, well, okay, you know, it's a miracle at the Gabba. There was little information on Shamar Joseph. We can make all the excuses or give all the things, right? But there is something to be said. He has a chip on his shoulder. You were captain when the West Indies won at the Gabba. Prior to that, it was the Indians in 2021? And prior to that, it was the West Indies all the way in the late 80s. Yes? So for me, it gives us time, and the historical context of that series is too important for us to mess around with it. I say keep Kraigg. But when he says, okay, he wants to, in the first instance, because remember now, Kraigg would have known that the Australians are coming here this year. Before he went to Pakistan, he knew this. We all knew this, right? So it's within that context, then you have to say, well, look, we don't want you to step down now. We want you to stay until that Australian series is done. And I'm willing to bet. Again, I don't know this guy personally, but I'm willing to bet that as a West Indian cricket player, I don't see him saying no. But he offers his resignation, and apparently it was just accepted.
Walter?
West Indies cricket.
Always full of surprises.
Yeah, I was teaching, and then I was in between, and I looked. I was like, "What?" And anyway, I first of all, I must say, Kraigg, in the last 4 years, he did a very good job. He
You think
can be
so?
proud.
You call 10 out of 39 a very good job? Give
In
me some context here.
in the context of West Indies cricket,
Okay.
he has done above decent. We have to realize where we are as a cricketing nation at this point in time. So, given the resources that we have, given Kraigg is a modern day great in the context of West Indies cricket. The truth is the truth. He's a modern day great, right? It's like how
I won't go that far, but I understand what you're saying.
like Habibul Bashar for Bangladesh back in the day,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I understand why he decided to change and decided to say, you know what, I am done, right? If he if it's he that said that he wanted to finish. Because remember that we have a new coach, and we don't know if Darren Sammy had a conversation with him, and he said that, you know what, I'm not going with you. I just want you to focus on your bat. And I could understand that he just wanted to step away. Secondly, understand, as I wrote here, that being a captain of West Indies cricket team, being a selector of West Indies is a poison chalice. The age-old, it's a poison chalice. So maybe, as Sammy alluded to, when he said he just wants to focus on his batting and just leave everything alone. Just let it go. And again, as relates to the Test cricket, who am I putting? I have I have a number of different people. I have 6 names. This is going to, some of them might blow your mind. Imlach, Seals, De Silva, actually 5, Athenaeus, and Chase. That's 5, right? Right? So I don't want, really or truly, I don't want to touch Seals. Athenaeus is not ready. So my front runners, realistically, Imlach, De Silva, and the outlier Chase, right? That's and that's from what other happens. Secondly, the second point is I do not agree with the Rovmann Powell being replaced by Mr. Hope. I understand it. I don't agree with it.
What you understand about it?
I understand that there is concern that Rovmann cannot bat high quality spin. And he might not only play as a, in this position, if the ball is turning, he can't play. Right? So I actually understand. I understand what's going on with why that decision probably was made.
Okay. First of all, I would say I want to say to Kraigg Braithwaite, kudos to you for leading one of the oldest institutions in the West Indies, that being West Indies cricket, right? The West Indies cricket team. I too agree that given the resources at his disposal, he did the best that he could, right? He did the best that he could. When you look at it, out of 39 matches that he led the team, he did not lose 17 of those, right? That's almost half. 10 wins, 7 draws. In the context of West Indies cricket, modern day, that is pretty good, actually. So, because when you look at further back from Kraigg Braithwaite, we were taking a beating. We were taking a beating, right? And he has engineered, or he has been at the helm of some really, really great victories against England, against the Aussies, against Pakistan, so interspersed in some of the really poor performances, there have been some really good wins. You can't take that away from him, right? Beating Australia at the Gabba is no easy feat. Winning a test series, making sure that we keep our record against England whenever they show up in the Caribbean. You understand? It's no easy feat. Especially when people are expecting you to lose and they have not so nice things to say about the West Indies, and we as proud West Indians and defending that pride. But I think it was time. And we all know there's no right time for anything, right? It's either you do it or you don't do it. I personally think, and I agree with Kraigg, if he did it on his own accord, I thought it was time. It was about the best of time for him to step aside. It's a new test cycle beginning. I'm quite sure that between the director of cricket, Miles Bascom, and Darren Sammy, they have someone, they're just not ready to make that decision as yet. Right? Would it have been nice for Kraigg to lead West Indies out at the mecca of cricket in the West Indies, Kensington Oval? Absolutely. Would it have nice to see him build on what he did in Australia last year and possibly regain the Frank Worrell Trophy at Sabina Park, where we lost it? Absolutely, right? But I personally think it was a time for change. I think Kraigg realized, whether he did it now or after the Australian series, it was time for change. And
but Kevin,
go ahead.
If you remember how I phrased this thing, I do believe, yes, one can make an argument in terms of where Kraigg is, right? He has given of his best for Test cricket, for West Indies Test cricket, right? And one can say that, look, it's time for him to step away, focus on his batting, and what have you, right? But the question for me is, he has made sacrifice his own averages for West Indies cricket. One can make that argument, right?
Absolutely.
We're saying to him now, make that additional sacrifice for the Australian tour, right? But just as in politics, if we look to what political leaders do, like, for example, the Canadian Prime Minister, the Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago, they want a clear mandate from the people, right? They don't want, you resign and pass it on to me. No, let me go to the people. Let's get a clear mandate from them. That's how I see Kraigg's stepping away or saying, look, I want to resign, right? And so for me, based on that, if he were convinced, I think he would have stayed on. Because what I would want to ask you, Kev, is what would be, who would you put as your top three?
My top three.
For the captaincy. Yeah.
Shai Hope, Roston Chase, and John Campbell.
John Campbell.
Yeah, I'll go into this why I think, right? Or what I think. Let me deal with John Campbell first. It is obvious in the context of West Indies cricket and the first class season that is taking place, John Campbell being one of the leading scorers, right? Mikhail Louis showed that he needs a lot of work. I see John Campbell being back at the top of the order alongside Kraigg Braithwaite because there's no other competitors, right? There's no one else competing for that spot other than John Campbell. I see Roston Chase being back in the West Indies squad. And I also see Shai Hope being back in the West Indies squad. And more than likely, Darren Sammy will say, hey, I need you across formats. Just like me, I need you across formats. If Shai Hope says no, let me get this out of the way. Someone said to me today, it's Shai Hope or nobody. If Shai Hope doesn't want that spot, we're in crisis. Because he doesn't see anyone else with the capability or the credentials to lead the West Indies team. Go ahead, Walter.
I'm gonna ask one of the things that we gotta do when we're thinking about West Indies cricket is not think logical, Kevin.
No, I'm not gonna argue with you in that part, right?
The logical, and that's why I left Hope out. The logical leader right now for West Indies cricket should be Hope. The logical leader.
Why Hope?
Right, because he's one of the few people that could actually bat.
You know why I ask you why Hope? Because, and I'm stepping out of my depth here, right? I am no expert to comment on the quality of a captain. I'm not going to pretend, right? But there have been concerns about Rovmann Powell's ability to lead a team, technical ability, right? As a captain. And apparently those concerns or those questions have not been raised when we talk about Shai Hope. So, batting aside, and by the way, Shai Hope has done better as a white ball batter than with Test cricket. Notwithstanding what he did in England
2017.
what, 5 or 8 years ago. Well, more than that, sorry. Yeah, there you go. Right? So I think a big plus for him would be, again, his mental acumen as a captain. No disrespect to Rovmann Powell. Again, I'm not qualified to judge, how he is as a captain. I leave that to you, Kevin and Walter, right? But as a person, I've had no issues with Rovmann Powell. He seems to be a guy who is just cool and calm and can get people to play, maybe not on a level like a Darren Sammy or a Clive Lloyd for sure, but he just seems like
Sammy,
a
please,
good
Sammy,
individual,
stop, Sammy,
a good
please,
leader.
please don't do this.
Don't do what? Go through.
Sammy, please don't do that again, Sammy. Me and you friend,
What did I
Sammy.
do
Don't do
wrong?
that again. No,
What
don't
did I
do
do
that. I
wrong?
mean, we respect Darren Sammy, but Darren Sammy, Clive Lloyd.
We cleared that up the last time,
Listen, Walter is saying,
Rovmann Powell, yeah.
Walter is saying, the greatest captain of all time,
Right.
of any cricket team,
Yes.
is Clive Lloyd, bar none. You understand me? And I'm there with you, Walter. I don't care who you what.
I agree.
We can't do that, man.
But
yeah, all right. I made a cardinal sin of putting Darren Sammy in the same sentence with the great Clive Lloyd, right? But we can all agree that Darren Sammy has something when it comes to motivating men on the cricket field. And come on, boys. All right.
listen. I would give Darren Sammy this, right? He has led some of the biggest characters in West Indies cricket over the last 30 years. Right?
Yeah. We can.
And it takes a great deal of what's the word I'm looking for? It takes skill, great skill, to get those people. When you think of a Chris Gayle,
Pollard, Bravo,
Narain,
Marlon
Samuels. You understand? When you think of all those men,
Solomon Ben,
when you think of all those men and their different headstrongness, if you want to put it that way, right? They're all strong characters in the dressing room. They're all strong characters in the West Indies and in world cricket. Kudos to Darren Sammy for getting everything out of those men and getting them on the same page.
And Kevi, to add to that, did it at a time when West Indies cricket was not doing well. So that's added pressure, a pressure that Clive Lloyd did not have. Well,
no, they had a lot of people. They had a lot of trouble. I agree with you, Kevin, and I must say that I have a lot of respect for Darren. So I mean, I said that in a previous episode where I think that he is a leader of men in a modern context, right? But going back to what we said, when we can't think logically with West Indian cricket, it might be hope, it could be chase, but I think knowing West Indies cricket, knowing the nepotism in West Indies cricket, know who controls West Indies cricket is going to be Athens.
I don't think Darren Sammy and Miles Bascom are going to make that mistake. Because as it stands,
I really hope so.
hear me out. Alec Athenaeus cannot, at this point in time,
Command the place.
command the place in the West Indies team. He has his own position to worry about. While many can argue and say, when Darren Sammy became captain, he couldn't also. We're talking about two different people. You understand? Two different personalities. One was a big personality, and I don't see Athenaeus as someone who can get a squad of 14 on the same page. Because he's struggling right now with the Windward Islands to do that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, because he has some characters in the Windward Islands team.
Yeah. So
and they did well last year.
I personally see it as if Shai Hope says no, I'll just do the white ball section of things, it has to be Roston Chase. Because I just see, based on how things are going, I see Roston Chase being back in the West Indies team. You understand? And being back in that middle order. I have been calling for Roston Chase to be back in that middle order. I've been calling for Shai Hope to be in that middle order. I've been calling for Brandon King to be in that middle order. You understand me? So even if we wanna look a little bit, as Walter said, there is no logic in West Indies cricket. Brandon King has spent time being the captain of the Jamaica Scorpions. He has even captained the West Indies team in recent times in that T20 series. I think it was against South Africa, right? So he has
and won all three matches
and has captaincy experience, right? So
and went to the best high school in Jamaica.
Seems to have a strong head on his shoulders. Seems to understand what he wants to do on the field of play, right? But I personally think, outside of Shai Hope, it will be Roston Chase, with John Campbell hanging around there somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, realistically. Guys, but I think we must deal with the Rovmann Powell issue in terms of T20.
Absolutely. So here's my take, right? I'll go first here. I think the Bangladesh series recently, it seemed like Rovmann kind of lost the players somewhat. He was trying to get them. You can see he was trying to get them to go, and it's like you could, as they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like the horses went to the water and they stuck their front hooves down, and they said, "No, I am not moving any further." That's what I saw. He couldn't get a response out of them. And I think Sammy went, you know what? Before this goes any further, let me nip it in the bud. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, maybe we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And maybe that, but I think he did a good job in terms of leading those men to helping the West Indies go from ninth to third. I think they were at one time they were second.
Yeah, they're now fifth.
Right? So were they second at one time too?
No, they didn't get the second.
It was just third.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a good thing. He has, I think, it's 19 wins and 17 losses, something like that. So
here's the thing. Listening to the presser this morning and Sammy's comments, he said, he called Rovmann over in India and he said, "Hey man, look, these are my thoughts," right? Basically what he's saying. He said it was a difficult conversation. So I imagine, based on Sammy saying what he's saying and not giving too much away in terms of the details, right? Rovmann probably would have had a little bit of pushback and saying, "Coach, I think I've done a fairly good job." And he has, right? You cannot take that away from him. He has. He's done a fairly good job. But Sammy probably has his own ideas as with regards to where the team is right now, and he probably sees now is a perfect or opportune time for change. That is what I'm seeing. That is what I'm getting.
Yeah. And we have to agree. I mean, I get that I don't know Sammy, I know because he purest his heart. I don't feel comment on this one.
I already did.
Yes, he
But
he
just
said earlier.
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you said your part on Rovmann Powell. You said your piece earlier upon what you thought about
Yeah,
Rovmann's time
Just
as captain.
and
yeah.
as
But
Rovman,
what I will say, what I would
mm,
say, just to add to what I've said regarding, his ability to lead from a technical standpoint, right? And again, I'm just going here on what has been said. And there was a comment by Darren Sammy today also about Shai Hope being excellent at using data and understanding situations and so on, right? So if you're saying Shai Hope has that, it could mean that there's something there that there are questions
Yeah.
regarding Rovmann Powell's ability to bring all the information together and to make certain decisions on the field, right? Because remember, T20 is a game that goes so fast, you go in with one game plan, but things are changing so quickly, you got to be able to adjust on your feet and keep tabs on so many different things,
so the
right? So
analytical
the
part of
question
it.
might be that he's not doing that well. Again, I can't say. That's not for me to say.
So the
So
analytics.
a couple of things
There you
here.
go. That's the, yeah.
Couple of things here. The word analytics and data was used a lot today. I don't know if you paid attention to this, Sammy.
Yep,
It was used
even
by
from Chris Darren.
Yeah, it was used by Chris Darren. And
Yeah.
Chris said his challenge to Darren Sammy is to utilize all the data that's available, full scope. You understand? To
And
make
if he
this
needs help, if he needs the resources,
right.
there's a commitment
Right. So
from the
Chris said,
CEO
we are
to
going to
be
be a resource. You utilize all the data. We are making ourselves a resource. You utilize all the data. Right? Because that's the era that we're in right now. And Sammy went on to say, you can because someone asked the question about the whole data thing. And Sammy said, look, you can have the data is mainly to plan, right? It is mainly to plan. It doesn't mean things can't change on the field and you have to be able to adapt on your feet, right? And I think Shai Hope is a little bit better, let's just say better, than Rovmann Powell in that regard, right? Being able to see things, make the change on the field, and implement the changes. Walter, you're muted.
You muted Walter.
What Rovman should do now is just focus on his batting and focus on becoming a modern T20 great in West Indies. And if I were him, probably trying to make the one-day team. I don't know if he has desires of playing Test cricket because he hasn't played any 4-day cricket for Jamaica or made himself available.
At least not in the longest while. Yes,
Yeah.
but not in the longest while.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I think that it, like, for everyone, for Rovman and for Kraigg, I think they should just focus on their individual games and make themselves great. I hope that Kraigg could push his average up close to 40 if possible. I know it might be hard, and to Rovman to get his in the 30s as a T20 cricketer.
So here's my thoughts. I have some thoughts on Kraigg Braithwaite and this relinquishing the captaincy, focusing on his game, right? I think it has the potential to elongate his career. I think it has the potential to elongate his career, and not only elongate his career, but add a little bit more substance to it in terms of what his average would look like. What his legacy would look like as an opening batsman for the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think there's a lot more in Kraigg Braithwaite yes, his type of batting is mundane and it's not fashionable, but this is Test cricket. You don't have to do what baseball is doing or what whoever is doing. You play your game. This is what you're good at, right? And that's all you have to do. Do what you're good at. So I think this has the potential to work in the favor of Kraigg Braithwaite and work in the favor of West Indies. Because I don't know about y'all, but I got a strong feeling. Y'all ever hear Jason Holoff at first slip saying, I got a feeling here, boy. I get a feeling one is
Yeah,
coming. I got a feeling the Frank Worrell Trophy coming back home.
I got a feeling too. I got a feeling. Something I must say though, and in defense of Kraigg, I think that the great Desmond Haynes didn't do him justice. And I don't know if he was part because he was the captain and one, not playing Darren Bravo, not having Nkrumah Bonner there. I think that those were mistakes that were made.
Um,
Darren Bravo especially. I think Darren Bravo should be playing. Still.
without a doubt, right? There are two people who needs, I don't want to sound harsh here. There are two people who I think that should not get anywhere close to West Indies cricket again, and that's Desmond Haynes. I think he's tarnished his legacy somewhat by his decisions as a selector recently, right? And Dave Cameron. Dave Cameron robbed Darren Bravo of what is now essentially almost 10 years of Test cricket. Back in 2016, when he made this comment about West Indian players got A+ contracts, and Bravo's retort was big idiot. That could have been handled behind scenes. You understand me? But people's ego got there, and a man said, "Well, you ain't playing again until you apologize." And Bravo said, "I'm not apologizing." Yes, we did bring Bravo back, but he didn't spend much time in the West Indies team because we didn't give him the patience that he needed. Now, this man was out of Test cricket and a lot of cricket, even at the first class level, for the better part of 4 years. You cannot expect him to come back and be Darren Bravo, who was at the top of his game when you said you're done in 2016, when he dominated that series against Pakistan and the UAE. You understand me? He was at the height of who Darren Bravo was. He came back and we gave him no patience. He deserved to work his way back. He deserved it. And then when he did find his way back, and started making runs to Trinidad, someone named Desmond Haynes looked at him and said, "Well, you're too old." But you picked someone just as old as him.
And I read some of that also, Darren Sammy. I think he should have said something, right? But the funny thing about West Indies cricket is a circle because somebody did that to Desmond Haynes
Yeah.
because he had more time, right? And as someone I thought he would have understood that, you know what? You see, the thing about West Indies cricketers, they got too much people with big egos. But we said another thing again, I can't say here because I don't want we get banned. But Kerry Barrington. Anyway, but I have nothing more to say.
Oh my goodness. What an example.
That issue with Bravo and Cameron was unfortunate.
It was very.
To be played out there.
Yeah.
Of course, Bravo could have handled it differently. And of course, Cameron could have handled his general approach to players at the time because it wasn't only Bravo.
No.
Right? He had an incident with Chris Gale and But here's the thing though. What was most concerning for me was that some months before that incident, Bravo made it clear that he wanted to play Test cricket for the West Indies. Now, in this era, which player you know comes out and makes a commit? Look, I am committed to playing Test cricket.
Yeah.
I want to play Test cricket.
Listen,
So that was the sad part for me.
Darren Bravo will be 36 years old this year, right?
36.
I still
He's already 36, yeah.
Yeah, I still think if you ask me, Alec Athenaeus, Kavem Hodge,
Darren Bravo.
Darren Bravo,
Darren Bravo.
it is not a conversation.
Darren Bravo.
You understand me? It is not a conversation. It is not a conversation. Right now, I honestly believe Darren Sammy needs to get on the phone and go, "Hey, champ, what are your thoughts? I need you." You understand me? I think Darren Sammy needs to get on the horn and say, "I need you." He's playing cricket in Trinidad.
Yes, he is. Yes, I saw him.
Yeah, he's playing cricket in Trinidad.
I saw him Brathwaite 2 weeks ago.
You understand me? So interesting times ahead, fellas.
Yeah, to wrap up, I didn't give my picks. Personally, I always liked the idea of the wicket keeper being the captain, given where he or she stands, right? And the view of the field, the bowler coming through, the batters, what have you. I just like the idea of wicket keeper being the captain. So I would say go with Imlach, and of course, But the Silver has put up his hand. He has put up some runs on the board. So one other option is for him to come in. He was already vice captain, so you bring back the Silver, and then you have Imlach stay behind the stumps.
So let me do this. So Stamen reached out to me today, and he asked me for my thoughts, right? And he asked me, what would your squad look like for the Australia series?
Yeah.
And I said, Kraigg Braithwaite, John Campbell, Brandon King, Roston Chase, Kavem Hodge, Josh De Silva, Jason Holder, Imlach, Amir Jangu, Moti, Kimar Roach, Jaden Seals, Alzari Joseph, and Shamar Joseph.
Yes, how many you got?
I think that is 14? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm going with a 14-man squad.
So you're playing Hodge
No
in
place
front
to
of
work on
Athenaeus?
No place to work on
in the squad.
in the squad.
So you're playing, so you don't think
I'm
you
taking a
play
brave stand there.
Why Moti in front of Markan?
Moti gonna give me wickets and runs. Moti gonna give me wickets and runs.
But Markan had
I agree.
a Garfi Soberlite series in
Yeah, on wickets tailor made for him.
on a yeah.
You understand me? This is nothing. No, understand this. This is nothing against Jamel Warrican, right? Nothing against Jamel Warrican. In Pakistan, on those wickets, he was going to take tons of wickets based on how he bowls. You understand me? He was going to take tons of wickets. What Warrican did wasn't surprising to me, actually. Right? But this would be my squad. I know the Bajans will go and they're going to raise all kinds of hell as to why, Warrican in there. But I do expect him, when Darren Sammy names his team, I do expect Warrican to be there, right?
He at least probably might play in the second test.
I do expect Warrican to be there.
In St. George's, he should play.
Or Grenada.
Ingredient.
I do expect him to be in that squad. That is just my thoughts on, and I would go as far as having Josh Da Silva play, not as a wicketkeeper, purely as a batsman.
I would do that too. I did that actually. Why are you playing Hodge in front of Atenis?
Atenis has no fight. You need somebody that's going to fight against the Australians.
Okay.
If I'm playing somebody, I know as limited as Kavem Hodge is, he's going to give me 110%, and he's going to put some value on his wicket, a premium on his wicket. Atenis does not trust his defense. He does not trust his abilities. As talented as he is, he does not trust his abilities. I need someone that will trust their abilities. Kavem Hodge was vital in that Brisbane victory. Was it at Gabba? Sorry. Remember, he was vital in that victory. But that he made 79 in the first innings and 20 odd in the second. Yeah.
Let's see. I think we should revisit our squads. I think I spoke to Greg. I think we'll get him on for the Australia series.
Okay.
Right.
The world is not ready for his views.
The world ain't ready for the rest of my views.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. West Indies cricket another day.
Anyways, fellas, it was we definitely had to strike while the iron was hot. It's something that needed to be talked about. It's something that needed to be ventilated. It's going to be interesting to see who ultimately ends up with the captaincy of the West Indies team. I would love to see it if it's someone that we have shared amongst ourselves here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Shai Hope or Roston Chase or Josh Da Silva, whoever. At the end of the day,
or Kraigg could take it back.
You really flocking the horse, Tommy.
Let me tell you, fellas, if I were in Kraigg Braithwaite's shoes, right, I was not resigning. No, sir. No, that series is too important. What? I'm gunning. I'm fighting.
But you think
everything out.
You thinking about the 300,000 a year that the man making?
Huh?
I think there's not what the captains make. Anyway, I stop counting money.
Listen, at this point here is about history. I going out there and I look and I saying, fellas, it's going to be hard for us to bowl the RCs out twice. But if we can draw all 3 matches, that is effectively a win for us.
Listen, let
me start from that perspective.
Let me end on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Australians are ripe for the picking.
Yeah.
If you are paying attention,
they're suspect.
They are ripe for the picking.
For the first time, I see chinks in the armor. I'm telling you.
The
button. The bowling is excellent. The button.
Because if you paid attention to that series where we played them last year, it's only because we just failed worse than they did in the batting department. True. You understand me? That was the difference between us and them. I honestly thought had we showed a bit more heart in that first test, we'd win that game. We would have won that game. Batting wise, had we showed it, because we had them, because say for Travis Head, nothing really happened in that Australian first innings in that first test. Mm-hmm. You understand? Shamar Joseph blew them away.
Yep.
And Travis Head, did Travis Head things and saved them. So, and we came back in that second innings and we just folded like a bunch of folding chairs. Had we put up something substantial there, we could have won that match and won that series. I strongly believe that.
And that is why the Australians are coming back. You see, we have to understand. I seen they're coming for blood because they were embarrassed and they want to prove a point. Australia want to come and beat up on us to feel confident. That's what they want to do. That's why the Australians don't want to play us. They never want to play us. They only want to play us to hype themselves up. That's why and because they were embarrassed. I know them.
3 test matches. Why do you think that they agreed to 3 test matches? Because they want to go back and be 1-1 again, right? If it so happens, they want to give themselves a fair chance.
Mhm.
You understand me? Which I think is the right thing to do. All test series under the World Test Championship should be a minimum of 3 test matches.
Minimum,
True.
right?
I agree with that. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
You understand? Now, if you, all right, I'm willing to go this far. Every series should be 3 matches. Now, if you have decided, these 2 countries have decided for financial reasons or economic reasons, we
For
want to
history,
play 5 matches, then that's it. But we only counting. ICC is only counting these 3 matches. Y'all do what y'all want with the other 2. There's not we business. You understand? But
You know what? I'll end tonight by saying this. I realize that we're not where we are as a cricketing nation. We have given a lot to the world. We've been disrespected. So as a fan, I am starting hashtag beat the Australians, relegate we. I have nothing more to say. Relegate we.
hey, good. Good chopping it up tonight, fellas. Good chopping it up. I'm gonna try to get this out there tomorrow, so it is fresh. At least by 8 p.m. tomorrow night, I'm gonna try to get it out there, right? Because yeah, people need to see this episode. I think we all have some interesting takes on what took place today, and
yeah.
we are all eagerly standing by to see what happens in the coming weeks, because in a matter of a couple of months, the Aussies will be here. All right. So have a good night, fellas, and we will chat again on Wednesday. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, man, respect.
Take it easy, yeah?
All right.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.